Alright, here's the actual last chapter because I couldn't leave out the nice one after reading all of that nasty, porny stuff. Actually, I'm pretty sure Maddie can actually listen to this one or watch this one. Since I always forget that you guys can actually see my face while I do this. That's a nasty thought. Okay. Whatever. Grantaire presses the final band-aid to his lover's chest, smoothing the edges to ivory skin and glancing up at him for approval. As many times as he'd seen him, he'll never get over how beautiful Enjolras is. The sweat has cooled on his skin by now, and there are bruises forming on his wrists, his hips, that make Grantaire wince. He almost wishes he hadn't agreed to this. Almost. Thank you, the blonde murmurs eventually, bringing his hand up to cover Grantaire's on his chest. One pale blue eye cracks open, a crooked smile blooming on those marble features, and Grantaire leans instinctively closer as butterflies erupt in his stomach. It never fails. No big deal. He tries to sound nonchalant with limited success. Enjolras' smirk grows, and he rolls his eyes at him in return, lowering himself to the mattress beside him to curve an arm over his hip, pulling him closer. Face burrowed into his shoulder, his next words are muffled, but only slightly sarcastic. I live to serve. He feels rather than sees Enjolras huff impatiently, rolling onto his side to twine his arms around R's neck. This, he's firmly convinced, is heaven. Some days Grantaire can't even believe he's so lucky. Most days, actually. Possibly all days. How many people on this earth have the pleasure of falling into bed and into love with a Greek god? As they wind around each other, the cynic presses his nose to the other's neck and inhales deeply, drinking him in place of his customary brandy around this time of day. The sun is sinking orange. The sun is sinking orange in the corner of the window already, but he can't think of a way he'd rather spend the waking hours of the day than here in Enjolras' bed, indulging him in his most secret desires. I can feel you thinking, the other man drawls, pulling away at last. Grantaire follows after the movement, a discontent noise caught in his throat, unwilling to let him go just yet. Inky curls spill over Enjolras' shoulder, and he gives up on trying to wriggle away, tangling his fingers there instead. After a pause he finally asks, "What are you thinking about?" I love you," Grantaire sighs, because there's no way to deny it, and he doesn't even want to. He never has, really, not since the beginning of their clandestine affair. Enjolras knew full well how he felt, and he'll take what he can get. If it makes him uncomfortable, then he'll just have to deal, won't he? After all, Grantaire gets great head. Now, though, the man whose arm he's clinging to like a baby koala is silent, mulling over his words. When the silence grows long, R feels a flash of anxiety at the idea that he could take it all back in a moment. Especially now, after what he'd done to him. If Apollo casts him out now, what will he do? Return to drinking and pining and painting and getting nowhere in his life at all after 2 months of sleeping in the love of his life's bed? He knows he can't do that. He knows he can never go back, but as for where he will end up, he has no idea. Instead, Enjolras licks his lips and pronounces his words carefully. About that. Grantaire is still frozen, not daring even to open his eyes, although he knows Enjolras prefers it if he looks at him while he talks. He can't face him now, not if there's a chance. Maybe if he just pretends hard enough. The blonde takes a deep breath, bracing himself, and still manages to sound self-conscious when he continues. What would you say if I returned the sentiment? A startled noise escapes him at the admission. He pulls away at last, staring up at him with eyes wide in awe and disbelief, and does his very best not to choke on his tongue. Enjolras looks completely out of his depth, but to his credit he stares back with as much intensity as ever. Oh. Very intelligent, R. Gold star. Impatient for an answer, the other man cocks an eyebrow expectantly. He tugs lightly at the curls woven between his long fingers. Well? Grantaire thaws slowly, a tentative smirk unfurling on his face. Forgive me, he says, furrowing his eyebrows for effect. I don't think I heard you. Come again? Enjolras narrows his eyes, but he's a good sport. Probably because they both know that Grantaire has been waiting for this forever and a half, and he deserves to savor the moment. He presses their foreheads together and kisses him chastely before replying, their lips brushing with every word. I love you. I don't believe you. It escapes the drunk in a hushed, reverent whisper. Fingers brush at fresh bruises on narrow hips, legs tangle atop the sheets. The shadows grow longer by the minute. Prove it. With a groan, Apollo pushes himself up on one elbow and stares down at him in exasperation. Be serious. I am being serious. He blinks and copies the motion, never daring to look away in case he disappears into the dreamscape, because this must be a dream. A wonderful, amazing, perfect dream that he never wants to wake up from, but a dream nonetheless. Grantaire is afraid to wake up, to go back to the miserable existence he lived in the real world, where Enjolras was an unattainable intern who occasionally frowned at him or plucked a bottle from his slack hands at parties when he was in danger of passing out on his feet, and he was just a washed-up artist living on minimum wage. He could wake up any moment, and it's terrifying because he knows that it will be with a hangover, most likely covered in paint, and possibly vomit, and possibly sex with someone who isn't this perfect man staring into his eyes. He doesn't want any more nights at the bar with Bahorel if it means leaving this behind, but this has to be too good to be true. Enjolras is naked and here and loving him and pulling him with one hand in his hair and the other gripping his jaw into a furious kiss, and he doesn't care if it's a dream anymore. He's the soberest he's been in months, and he doesn't even want to drink. Enjolras' lips are like magic and fire, and they drip passion, just like they do when he speaks, except this way he can transfer it directly into Grantaire's veins. Something has gone horribly right. He doesn't want to stop it. His fingers bury themselves in waves of blonde hair, and his mouth is opening to that prying tongue, a startled moan that sounds like a sob escaping him, and Enjolras is rolling on top of him, silencing him effectively. They make love for the first time on a Thursday night, and afterwards Grantaire shoots Éponine a sleepily ecstatic text before diving under the covers and snuggling up to his brand-new boyfriend. He wakes up at 10 in return. "Fucking finally! If he breaks your heart, tell him I'll break his face," from Éponine. "I think you'll make a great couple. Combeferre. I'm so happy for you. Double date, breakfast at 10 on Sunday. XOXO. Cosette. Please say no. Marius. I hope you're using protection. Jolie. Hey, congrats to you two. Good luck. Bisset. Take care of him. Feely. Drinks tonight? On me. Bahorel. Can I plan the wedding? Please. Jehan. Pics or it didn't happen. Courfeyrac. Snorting, Grantaire shuts his phone off again and sets it aside. They can all wait until he's properly awake for replies, if they get any at all. When he turns back to Enjolras, he's staring at him in fond amusement. Care to explain why Jehan felt the need to send me 17 links to honeymoon destinations? I may have let the cat out of the bag. He can't control the way his lips twitch upward at the look on his boyfriend's face. It must be contagious, because Enjolras offers a wry grin in return and pulls him back into his arms, kissing him with a content sigh. "You are wild," he mocks, murmuring the words against his lips before pulling back to press a finger to them. "What do I have to do to keep your big mouth shut?" Grantaire sucks the finger into his mouth and mumbles around it. "I can think of a few ways." Yes, this is good. That's all I have to say. This is good. That's the start of a beautiful relationship. Of course they would do it backwards. Disgust everyone with their sexual exploits and then get into a relationship. Okay, I'm done. I'm not gonna. No more commentary. I'm done. Mm-hmm.